reframing is the concept that everything is context dependent. So if you change the context of something, you change the meaning of it. And there are a few types of ways to reframe. And reframing can take what is, accepting and utilizing what is, and changing the way you look at it or the way you experience it so that it works for you instead of against you. For example, if somebody says, I have too much energy, how about that one? Or I'm too tired. A way to reframe that or to start to explore that is to say, too much energy for what? Too tired for what? You know what? Like the energy can actually be a good thing. Maybe you don't want too much energy when you're trying to go to sleep, but it doesn't have to be framed as a bad thing. It can be actually a good thing. So realizing, too much for what? It's a great thing that you have energy. You are an energetic person. Maybe you don't need as much sleep as you thought. Maybe you can get some things done right now. So that is a context reframe. You kind of focus on the location, the space, the context around the issue. Another way to reframe is when someone says, whenever this happens, it means this, or whenever X, then Y. A way to reframe or kind of conceptualize that differently is to think, what else could that mean? Whenever somebody flips me off on the road when I'm driving, that means the world's a horrible place? Really? Maybe not. Maybe it means that you always drive during rush hour, or maybe it means that they were in a bad mood. Some people say it means something about me, like personalizing it, but it doesn't need to mean that. So that's another way. That's a meaning reframe, making meaning out of it. So to be aware of the context and the meaning out of things, to be able to reframe, you can reframe anything, almost anything in your life, to be positive, accepting and utilizing what is so that it gives you what you want and helps the world be a better place. Not just gives you what you want, because you don't want to be totally like, it's not me against the world, it's me with the world kind of thing. All right, so I'm just going to do a brief chaining anchors exercise. Actually, I'm just going to talk about what anchors are first. So anchors, as you know, are things that remind us of something in the past, a state that we have been in the past. So an anchor can be if you have a necklace that somebody gave you, and it's always supposed to remind you of something, to be strong, or that they love you, or something. Yes, something like that. Another anchor can be something that you do physically with your body. So if you always went into a classroom when you were little and the teacher came and tapped your shoulder and said, good job, good job. After a year of that, only when they say good job and you feel good about yourself, they tap your shoulder. When someone taps your shoulder like the same way, you're going to feel probably the same good job inside. That became an anchor over time. It could be the opposite also. It could be that they say something negative and do a similar thing, physical or whatever. Or whenever you're nervous, you might bite your lip, or you might do something with your hands without knowing it. That can be an anchor too. When some people do, when they do the fire walk for events or different events or anything else, as we talked about a little bit earlier, they always say that at the very end, you're supposed to do an anchor. You create your own anchor. A lot of people's anchors, like the automatic one, could be yes, or they do something with their foot or their hands or their body to embody the feeling of achieving something great. So the way to use anchors is when you are in a great state, emotional state, when you're feeling happy, when you're feeling confident or like you accomplished something. And the better the state, the stronger the anchor is going to be. So to do it consciously, and when you're feeling great about something, do an anchor immediately at that time. So you can, it doesn't really matter what the anchor can be. It could be touching your hand a certain way, like at a certain point in your hand. It could be your shoulder, your hand, your arm, your leg, your foot, stomping your foot, anything you think of, it could be that. So think of one right now. Think of an anchor you're going to use. Create it. If you can't think of it, you could use a finger, either touch it like this, or some people touch the knuckles or something like that. So let's take a few moments right now and get into a state of feeling unstoppable. I know all of you can think of a time when you were unstoppable, because I think I know what you're thinking. But just think of any time in your life when you were like, I did what I was so scared of doing. I actually went through with it. I did it. I can't believe I accomplished this. I did it. I can do anything if I did that. So let's just do the unstoppable feeling today. You can do this at home with happiness, with joy, with peace, anything but unstoppable right now. Think of a time when you felt completely unstoppable, and now start touching your anchor. I'm going to just hold on to my finger. Unstoppable. Reminds me of that song by Sia. I'm unstoppable. I'm invincible, unstoppable. Okay. Breathe deeply. Remember that time when you finished that thing you were so scared. You're unstoppable. And then that feeling naturally is going to go in a wave. So you're going to feel a lot of it, and then it's going to fade a little. So when it starts to fade and go away, let go with your finger or whatever anchor you're doing right now. That was an anchor. So the more you do that over and over, the more you can come back to that. And if you're having a bad day and you're not feeling like you get through something, you can remind yourself, I'm unstoppable. And it'll start to trigger the feeling in your actual body of the anchor of being unstoppable, or whatever it is. The more often you do it and the more intensity that you do it with, the stronger it's going to be. So that is all for anchoring today. There are some other things you can do to help it become more complex. Let me know if you want to do that. We could do that another time. But that was just a really short anchoring exercise. And along with the unstoppable theme, I wanted to just read you this quote. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. That was the Man in the Arena quote by Theodore Roosevelt, delivered in Paris, France on April 23, 1910.